What's up, everybody? It's been a little while since I've been online, but give you a little rundown of what I've been working on and how far I'm progressing with the A-pillar bars on the Team Z 850 cage kit in the old 97 Cobra Gumby. And been doing a little playing around, and as you can see, the Jeep is sold, so I'm having to deal with some of that stuff. But today we're going to go over what I've been doing for the last little bit, so stick around and check it out. We're back. Today, before we get into talking about the A-pillar stuff, I'm just going to go over a couple of things that I found and might be super helpful to you guys and help you maybe save some cash. So in the last video, I talked a little bit about how I was having some issues welding with the Amazon cups and gas lenses, and I ended up bought the Furic stuff and was playing around with it, and I'll show you a little bit here. I just had some scrap tubing pieces that that I put on this steel plate and was messing around welding. Now this is the Furic cup, or I'm sorry, the Furic gas lens, which I think is just a Weldcraft or CK Worldwide, which both those are very good and very well known as top quality pieces. The manufacturer of torch components and torches and welding accessories. This one here is the gas lens from the Amazon kit. And you can see all these pieces here were done with the Furic stuff, and this was done with the Amazon one. And I purposely cut them really close. I mean, it's, you know, a finger's distance away, because I wanted to test the stick out of the tungsten. And I kind of messed up because I did end up going and finishing this up with the Furic stuff to see if it would clean it up, and it did. But you can see that the Amazon stuff didn't do too bad. And you can see it here, it seems like it's a little bit grayish. Some stuff turned out okay. You can see here it's pretty gray looking. And what I found was, depending on how I was holding the torch, you know, whether the torch handle was up or down or to the side, it did affect the way the gas coverage would cover the weld pool. And the big thing I really noticed was that on your post flow, when you pull off your pedal, the welds would immediately start changing colors, whereas with the Furic they would stay totally silver. So that right there tells you that the gas coverage is not correct, because your weld should stay silver as long as you have correct gas coverage. What causes the coloring is the different gases in the atmosphere that will cause that. And you can tell that by if you let it sit there and hold on post flow until it's totally cool, or if you weld and just take off right away, you'll see colors. And that's kind of why you get colors out here, because that's where your gas coverage limitation is. So those are the big issues with the Amazon stuff. Now when it comes to stick out, I did, I don't know, ½ inch or so of stick out, and it would not cover good enough gas wise to be able to weld this in here with the Amazon stuff. I don't know if you can see, I mean, it does look pretty nasty. And I did kind of go over it with the Furic stuff just to see if it would clean it up and if it was weldable still. Before it was really brown looking, and you get a lot of kind of spattery little things flying off as you're welding. Now you can see the Furic stuff. This was my very first weld with the Furic stuff, so I was kind of getting used to it, but you can see it looks really good. Not not the best. There's a lot of starts and stops trying to get sorted out and whatnot. And then I did this one up here, and I had no issue with stick out. I mean, I could have that thing easily half inch out of the cup, and I welded this tight spot here perfectly fine. And I was just kind of doing some practice welding as well, because this is the first time I welded with chromoly, or welded on chromoly, so I wanted to get some practice time in. And I just tried a few different things, and what I'm using was 3/32 2% lanthanated tungsten, sharpened to a decent, it was to a point, but it was kind of a blunt point. And I tried a sharp point. This is more sharp point. This is more of a blunted point, which seemed to give me a little bit wider of a puddle, and seemed to be easier to dab. And so that was my second weld. And over here I had some more pieces, and I kind of tried to use a little more heat and go faster, but you can see, I hope you can see, you kind of get like not a smooth, let's see if I can find a good spot, not a smooth looking weld. You get kind of like these, I don't know what they kind of look like spider legs or something you want to call them, but it should look pretty close to this, shiny. And I did clean these up just to see if those little spidery things were from the mill scale still on the pipe, or if it's just because of the heat. And it seemed to be just because of the heat, because I wanted to test to see if the mill scale affected weldability at all, and it didn't, not on this tubing. As long as you clean the pieces with some lacquer thinner or acetone, it seemed to have no effect on the weld. Maybe a little bit when it comes to prettiness of the weld, but for the most part, you can see like there, that looks pretty nice, and there's you can see the mill scale goes right up to it, so not affected. But now to get to these lenses, you can see, I think what the main issue is the quality of build on these gas lenses from Amazon. You can see that this screen fits super nice up in that brass piece, whereas the Amazon one, it is gnarled looking. Some spots is deeper than other spots, and it just, I think depending on how the gnarliness of the gas screen and where its position is and how you hold it in your handle affected gas flow in certain situations. Because on part of these welds, I mean, they look pretty dang good, but in some spots it would gray up real quick. And that's that. So that's my rant on the cheap China boat Amazon junk. But this, if you did buy that stuff, this is what you need to do with it. Right there. I think that kit cost me 20 bucks, and the Furic stuff was 40 bucks. So in the end, I spent a bunch more than what I really needed to, 50% more what I should have. So I would just, if I were you guys, I would just go straight to the Furic stuff. And I'm not getting paid. I purchased the items. So this is a verified, I can verify if you want to see the receipt, but this is a customer review, not a paid review or anything. So that covers that. Another thing I found, I've seen some other people talk about it, is the Benchmark Abrasives. So they have, if you go to their Instagram, they have a promo code deal where you get a mix 10 pack of 4.5 inch flat discs, So different grits, and you get 10 of them, and all you do is pay shipping. Well, when I was on there, it was like anything $50 and below was $10 shipping flat. So I also figured, while I'm at it, I might as well get some stuff. I got some 1/2 inch, I forget what you call these things, but they're not a roll, but they're kind of like a roll, and they go on an arbor, a rubber arbor that expanding arbor. Those are always good to have on hand. Then I got some 1-inch flap wheels, and I think it all came into like 30 something bucks. So it's like, might as well just use up all that shipping cost, you know, with a little bit extra of items. So got that stuff. It's a good deal to get. So check out Benchmark's Instagram and get that promo code and get you some discs. You know, you go anywhere, these things are $2-3 a piece. You know, quality ones are like $4 or $5 a piece. So that's that. Let's go on to the A-pillar stuff. So as you can see, I got my A-pillar bar tacked in and it's tacked into my main hoop. So the way I first started doing this, because you know there's no guidance, no dimensions to work off of, was I set the A-pillar against the main hoop, kind of tried to figure out, let me get some better lighting up here, hopefully that will help. You know, I set it up against the main hoop and was trying to see how this fits best against the main hoop, because there are no markings on here on any of the tubing as far as locations of where things are supposed to go. There's only markings that describe what the bar is for. So like the A-pillar has A-pillar, driver side, SN95 on it, and it'll tell you like this end goes to the hoop. So I set it up here trying to figure out where it fits best, to figuring that's where it's going to go. And then you kind of also got to try and see how this front part of it is supposed to sit in place. The other thing is they leave this long, so you got to trim that down. They do mark it, but you still have to trim it down to even get it in place, to even just hold it in place, unless you cut the floorboard right away. But then you have nothing to support it. So so I got it figured out, and I even was using the rear bars trying to figure out, because I do know they're supposed to be a continuous type of junction there. So working together with those and figuring it all out, I found the place that fits good. I did have to massage the notch that's already in place. That one didn't require much, just a little bit. So I got it in place. Everything looks really good. It sticks up above the door line. It just drops a little bit right here, and then the front part of the A-pillar is up above, so it tucks away nice, and it looks really good. And so wherever this landed, I kind of marked it on the floorboard, and I started cutting stuff out. And so this kicker was, you can see that the A-pillar is not even on a kicker right now, and I'll show you why here in a couple of seconds. But I had it tacked in, back up against this cut mark here, and everything was looking good until I got it tacked in, you can see here I got my rocker bar. And this is just how the stuff's labeled. So 94 to 04 rocker bar, driver side, hoop end, right? So if you put this in place, bear with me on the camera work, all by myself here. You can see now that the A-pillar lines up better with the kicker. Now it does raise up because this A-pillar is so sprung inward that when you go to spread it, it kind of leverages leverages the way the bends are and the way the leverage works. It kind of pushes it up instead of just pushing it straight out. So you gotta kind of pull it down, which then kind of affects your, you can see that the main hoop moves, at least 1/4 inch. So that kind of affects your angle of your main hoop. So I had to cut my tacks, figure out how I was going to get it to stay in place. So when the rocker bar was in, I tried ratchet strapping it all together to tack it in. That didn't work very well. So it's just the spring in the A-pillar makes it difficult, It's not a knock on Team Z, but it's marketed as hold and weld. If you watch the video, the one video they do have of where they install a cage kit on a Fox body coupe, they do talk about how everything's cut, marked, notched, hold it and weld it kind of a deal. Yeah, everything's notched, and for the most part they're decent fits. Some of the stuff I've had to work and massage, and I'm finding, I'll show you here. So with this rocker bar, it's in place. Let's get it in place here. Sorry guys, I'll cut it out of the video, all this crap, and get you a better end product. But you can see here that it fits up really nice on the main hoop. There's no serious gappage. Let's see, I hope I can show you this with this mirror, so that you can see at the bottom side it fits just as nice and snug as the top side here. See that there? So that bottom side of the hoop fits really good. Top side of the bar fits it good against the hoop. The top side, it has a small gap. That's nothing to complain about or worry about. Then we go to this front side. You can see that it fits really nice on the top side of the bar. And then if you come down to the bottom side, all right, there we go. You can see there is pretty decent gappage. And so that means I want to massage this top side bar back, and then also some of the sides of it. At first I thought maybe my A-pillar bar was, not sitting correctly, or I had something messed up there. But after thinking and looking at it, if I had this A-pillar bar too far this way, that big gap spot should be tight. If I had it too far this way, then you would see that gap on that side, but you would also see it on the opposite side over here on top, and I don't see that. So I don't know how that got, how it's like that, but I did try. I was just curious if, when I was trying to figure out if it was an A-pillar issue or whatnot, because you look at it, it looks like it should just be a straight through notch. I grabbed the passenger side one and installed it over here because they should be identical from what I think, and it had the same issue. So I don't think, the same issue in same spots. I don't think it's an issue of my A-pillar being improperly installed. Gap in the location it is, and it's not like front to rear is bad, unless it's a combination of angle and whatnot. But anyways, the top side fits perfect, so I don't understand why it is like that. And of course, with no sketches or anything, or any kind of documentation from the designer of the kit, it's hard to understand what's really going on here. So all I've been able to reference are some pictures that are on their website, and I hope me going through all this stuff helps anybody else out there that's also planning to do this project or currently doing the project. So learn from me and my mistakes, especially if you're a first timer. Maybe after I get this totally done, maybe I'll create a PDF or something of dimensions and sketches, angles, whatnot, and maybe some kind of instructional pack. But so after I got that stuff done, of course I had to move my kicker piece to where it will connect up properly to the A-pillar bar, which right in this location it does, and it looks pretty good. So I had to cut more out up here, and I still got to cut more because I don't know if you can see, but it's tied up against this corner, so I'll have to cut back some more so that way I can weld this kicker to the connector. The other thing that I'm having some grief about is this front kicker is short by 3/16 of an inch, and I hope you can see it, but then pull this kicker bar out. You can see that the plate that they give you is in there and installed, but I still have a gap, so not real happy about that, but it's something I can easily fix. I got some 1/8 inch plate sticking around. I can cap the one end of the kicker, and that should bring me dang near where I need to be, and then welding from there is not a problem. Again, judging by the pictures that I see from Team Z's website, it seems like this kicker should be further back, because the other issue I ran into, and you can't see it at all with the way I have everything, but if you know these cars, there's these two fender bolts for the front fender, or fender screws, that are right there, and where this kicker is landing right now, where the plate is right over this rear screw. So I had to put a hole in the plate, figure out where it goes, where to put a hole in, and I had to cut the remaining part of the screw down. Not a big deal. I'm pretty sure these things are rusted in there, so I didn't want to take it out. But be prepared for that if you're using my dimensions. You can see here that I cut out the OEM subframe, and you know, I'm way back here now because the whole rocker bar pushing the A-pillar forward and stuff, so I still got to go a little further yet, so that way I can have a nice weld connector to kicker instead of just kicker to the OEM thin sheet metal subframe. So if this is something you're planning on doing, what I would do is, if you can get some dimensions, and maybe, you know, if you use my dimensions while you're installing this kit, I would pre-cut this so that way you get a nice cut and everything in your OEM subframe. And I would cut fairly wide, you know, 5-6 inches, because you do need room to weld your kicker to the connector, and you just weld your subframe to the connector, so it's all one piece, and that way it saves you some time and headache, because cutting that out is a pain in the butt. And I'll show you on the passenger side, so I haven't started cutting on that yet, but what I did, I got some dimensions here, hopefully the lighting helps. So from this seam in the rocker box right here on the driver's side, measured 9 inches to the front cut point and 13 inches. I know it looks like 1.3, but that's just some muck on the floorboard, but it's 13 inches to the front side, and that should be pretty decent room. And then you just have one piece of floorboard to trim out and fix back in place. Well, it'd be 2 pieces, one on each side, but at least you don't have 3 or 4 different little pieces to try and fit back in like I do on the driver's side. So that's where I'm at. Today I'm going to work on getting the passenger side fit in place, kicker in, you know, all that good stuff. So hopefully next video there'll be a little bit more progress. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I know it's kind of a long video, a lot of talk, not much action, but if you do enjoy and you are learning from this page, this channel, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, whatever, put it in the comments below. Shout out to my buddy Nick for razzing me about Harbor Freight stuff, which I did have a little bit of a shopping spree at because I had a big sale on stuff. I got a hole saw. That's how I cut all those pieces for the test pieces. And that's how I plan to trim the seat back bar and whatever else I got to do. So shout out to Nick. And anyways, you know, turn that dream into a goal and go crush it, guys. See ya.